Barbie, Michigan laws, the Ohio State Police, and Gretchen Whitmer. This ain't your mama's podcast. It's the Chico de Manuel Show. Let's get it. I done been fired up. You should too. All right, so I think it was my last episode. I meant to do one this Friday, but Friday I went to go see the Barbie movie, and I spent some time with my family, spent some time with my friends, had a couple outings, smoked a ton of weed, made a few dollars playing internet poker. So I was a little busy this weekend. I put a couple reels on the Facebook page, which is the Chico de Manuel Show. Find it on Facebook, gold and yellow. Anywho, right now I was just taking a stroll up to 7-Eleven, and I wanted to use this time, excuse me, shit. I wanted to use this time to talk about the Barbie show, or the Barbie show. It was so I like to call it in my mind, because either way, it's not something I would ever watch again. I gave the movie about a 4 out of 10, honestly, and I know that's being generous. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, saying I'm being generous, giving it a 4. Trying to be objective as possible here, but it just wasn't very enjoyable. I couldn't really see how it even be enjoyable for a female. It was just too many yes moments in that movie. Like, just too much of that. Like, visually, graphically, it was done very well. Like, it didn't really look like green screen. Like, it looked and had the feel of like a doll movie, like a toy movie. It was interesting to it was visually appealing. Like, if you just showed me the movie on mute, like, I could enjoy what I was looking at. The music they didn't do too much damn singing. They started off the movie with singing, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go with all this goddamn singing. I hate these fucking musicals where every 10 minutes a motherfucker breaks out a sentence and breaks off in the song. He's like, well, you understand, if I have to leave, then that means I'm never coming back. It's like, no, none of that shit. But it didn't do it too much. The songs, definitely, everything's tailored to women. Everything's tailored to women. It's a feminist masterpiece. It's an attempt at a feminist masterpiece. I actually brought a friend with me because I knew I would fucking have walked out of this movie otherwise. Like, she was my ride, and I didn't want to be fucking walking back and leaving my friend in the movie theater. That would have been fucked up. So it was a smart move, smart play by me, because I love you guys, and I'm a man of my word. Sorry, this blunt's really small now. Anywho, definite shout out to Ryan Gosling, because it was, if Guy wasn't a simp in real life, based off his acting job, I wouldn't be able to tell. Like, dude was all up Barbie's ass. I did kind of, let me see, how do I put this? Like, the high points of the movie for me was when basically, spoiler alert, Ken takes over Barbie land and it becomes Kingdom, and like, you know, it just made it seem like these are grown men frat boys. Like, why would they just, like, this is how women see men. And it's why a lot of women don't respect men. And I think the amount of men who deserve that disrespect, or the amount of men who actually fit that mold that are adult frat boys, is, I don't want to say underrepresented, but any way you skin it. Like, the women have some responsibility in selecting these men. The women have the responsibility in selecting men, especially nowadays when it's just so common for like a woman to be without the man because it's glorified. But when you have the women without the men, you get Kingdom. And then they made it seem like just to get Kingdom back, they all had to pretend to like these guys. He said, "Let me play the guitar at you." That shit. Like I said, man, Ryan Gosling, like he played his role excellently. It's not a role I don't give a fuck. You can hand me a blank check as a CEO executive of JP Morgan Chase. I wouldn't give a fuck. I could not do that role. I just couldn't. It's not me. I don't give a fuck if I was demographically cut out for it. Like, if I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I'm already on the internet as a lot of things. Wink, wink. So it's like, I'm not really trying to, there's got to be a cutoff somewhere. We got to stop the bleeding, okay? So I just couldn't be that guy. I couldn't be one of these other Kens. And then they had them all fighting on the beach with like fucking, like pool noodles and like all kind of beach equipment. Dude, just the word patriarchy was said so many times in this fucking movie. Clearly feminist propaganda, like just clearly. When I Googled Barbie to see the show times, the fucking screen on my phone turned pink. It started sparkling and all kind of shit. Like, they had so many people in this movie, so much choreographed dance, and just it was hundreds of people in here. They had everybody in there. They had a black guy with blonde hair. They had an Asian dude. They had a Ken. They had a BBW girl, big girl, overweight girl. They had all the thin, hot girls. They had the weird Barbie. I also like weird Barbie. I gotta say, weird Barbie was probably my favorite character. You know, she wasn't really overdone. Like, she was weird, but it was a real tasteful kind of weird. Like, it wasn't like weird, like, what the fuck am I watching with my children? Like, it was just like, you could tell she was the Barbie that had been the bulk of all the mistreated Barbies. And like the way she was contorting her body and just flipping around, like toward the end, like she kind of, you know, she was one of the cooler Barbies. I fuck with weird Barbie, you know. And the storyline wasn't, it was predictable as hell, but, you know, it wasn't half bad, you know. Storyline was good. I could see how a woman would enjoy it, but for me, I'm just like, oh my God, like, it was just so, it's like, man, like, women just don't, this shows how little respect or how little women think of men nowadays. And they don't seem to want to acknowledge their part in why men are like that. Because a lot of times, women reward these fucking man babies. They get rewarded. And when you reward that behavior, you perpetuate it into the cycle of dating. And all this complaining about how men is and like women just want to be around women. It's like, yeah, you're going to get tired of that. I don't give a fuck. Like, all this girl power shit. Like, unless you like some true lesbian and not on this non-binary crew, all this weird ass shit. You just a true chick that's just a DNA carpet muncher. Then like, fuck, okay, sure. You're the exception, not really talking about you. But like, women can be selective about their friends like a man can be selective about their friends. And I know women don't like hanging around women like that. Like, women, female to female interactions generally involve competition, jealousy, a whole smorgasbord of emotion and drama and all kind of shit. Typically, typically that's what you're signing up for in the friendship with a woman. And if the only thing that unites women is like hating men, don't you think that's kind of lame? I won't even say hating men, but having a general disregard, a lack of respect for men. Like, I think people in general, but I'm specifically speaking about women, have gotten really, really entitled. Another part of the movie I did like, holy shit, that motherfucker's flying. Another part of the movie, it was funny. Another part of the movie I liked is how, like, when she first changed the conversation, everything was just happy. Everything was just great. Motherfucker, just girls' night every night, blah, 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 all that shit. She's down. She's like, anybody else having thoughts about death and blah, blah, blah? And everybody just stopped and look at her. It's like, you ain't allowed to kill the vibe with these people. Like, that's that feminist message. Like, the feminist message is don't kill the vibe. Don't think about existential circumstances or like potential realities that you could become a part of, or things that can happen to you, or objective realities which you can't just delude yourself through, you know? And it killed everybody's buzz. And then as soon as she reneged on it, you know, everybody was just back. Like, it's just that it's like a cloak of hedonism secretly attached, secretly sewn on to this feminist movement. And we all know that hedonism is it's a downward spiral. Like, you're always in pursuit. Like, why do people choose to highlight and magnify everything that's negative? I've been talking about feminism all weekend, and one thing all these women who aligned as feminists, whether it's radical or new wave or first wave feminism, whatever, like, all those women, when you catch them in a line of questioning where you know you kind of got them, like you swept the rug from under their feet, they say, well, men do it. And it's like, how is that an answer to the question? How is it an answer if I say, well, why shouldn't women have to be told that they have to be responsible with their vaginas when they literally hold the key to humanity? Why they have to be responsible? Well, men don't have to be responsible for that. That's not an answer to the question. It's a non sequitur. Like, it does not, men do it. Okay, are you a fucking man? So you're literally saying that the statement doesn't apply to you. You're just commenting on what men do. But you're not a man, so why are you trying to do what men do? The whole feminist movement is based on women thinking they want to be women thinking they want to be men, but none of them are volunteering for that shit. None of them. The fucking fringe minority, the needless to mention exception when regarding to generalities. Yeah, you probably got like 2 out of fucking 1,000. Yeah, something slim like that. But these motherfuckers, like, they don't want to be men. They don't want to lead. They don't want to be in charge. It's not how the world's been set up. It's not what they want. I give the Barbie movie a 4 out of 10. It was well produced, visually appealing, but if I think back to when I talked about the Barbie movie, before I said I would go see it, it was a comment that said the movie was talking so hard about anti-sexism that it ended up being sexist or something like that. Like, it was just, like, if you wanted to bring your boyfriend to this, you're punishing him, you're torturing him. This was not designed for men to enjoy. They had male cheerleaders fucking jumping up and down in pom-poms and shit, man. Like, this shit was just a fucking, a psyop on men, on masculinity. I mean, it can be an enjoyable movie, but I highly doubt it. Courtesy of Fox News by Timothy H.J. Narazi. Michigan House passes a bill that can make using wrong pronouns a felony, finable to up to $10,000. Published June 30th, 2023. So this is a month ago. And this is where I am now. I am back in Detroit, Michigan. I'm no longer in Las Vegas. I don't know if I mentioned that, but if I didn't, here it goes. Yeah, I'm not in Vegas anymore. I'll be back. Of course, I need somewhere to cleanse myself of my sins. But I digress. A recently passed bill in Michigan could make it a felony to intimidate someone by intentionally using the wrong gender pronouns, according to some legal experts. Michigan State House of Representatives has passed Bill HB 4474, a piece of legislation that criminalizes causing someone to feel threatened by words. Hold on, man. Let me fire up a cigarette, dude. This is fucking ridiculous. While I'm reaching for this cigarette, I'm gonna read that sentence again, cause it tickled me, and if I didn't tickle you, I want to take a second try at it, because if not something wrong with me, it's something wrong with you. And if you don't agree with that, then you're racist. Let me see here. Where's my lighter? Unfucking believable. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Michigan State's House of Representatives has passed Bill HB 4474, a piece of legislation that criminalizes causing someone to feel threatened by words. Under the new bill, offenders are, quote, guilty of a felony punishable by imprisonment for not more than 5 years or by a fine of not more than $10,000. So you can go to prison for 5 years. Yeah. Hey, what are you in here for? I called Dylan Mulvaney a he. Whoa, hey. You guys better look out for this fucking guy. This fucking guy's nuts. Why the fuck would you do that? Huh? What, are you fucking crazy? Man. Quote, intimidate means a willful course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment of another individual that would cause a reasonable individual to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened, and that actually causes the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened, the bill reads. The bill specifically addresses sexual orientation and gender identity or expression as protected classes. Okay. Yeah. According to the bill, quote, gender identity or expression means having or being perceived as having a gender related with self-identity or expression, or whether or not associated with an individual's assigned sex at birth. Critics are accusing the bill of violating the First Amendment, which it absolutely is. Quote, make no mistake about it, those advocating for this legislation will wield those policies as a weapon capable of destroying conservative expression or viewpoints grounded in the sacred, distinguished Professor Demetrius William Wagner told media outlet The Daily Wire. Now, before I continue, I want to go back to this part. I want to reread this paragraph because, I take issue with it. Intimidate means, okay, so now what they're doing is taking the word intimidate and they're trying to flex and modify the definition to something that's arbitrary and subjective. Just kind of like how YouTube did with Matt Walsh. Like, they need you to vaguely violate a rule so they can punish you without having to explain why. And they're trying to change the definition of the word intimidate to include a series of behaviors which would otherwise be lawful or negligible, ignorable, as felonious. It says intimidate means a willful course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment of another individual that will cause a reasonable individual to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened, and actually causes the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide over. I'm going to go to dictionary.com. Hang on. Oops. Dictionary.com. And I'm going to type in the word intimidate. Nope, not intimate. D-A-T-E. Intimidate, okay? Okay, so courtesy. What the hell is this? It's a fucking ad in the middle of the... Okay. So from dictionary.com, intimidate means to make timid, filled with fear, to overawe or cow as through the force of personality or by superior display of will, talent, etc. You see how long that took? That was like 3 seconds. What do they say intimidate means? Intimidate means a willful course of conduct involving repeated or continuing harassment of another individual that will cause a reasonable individual to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened, and that actually causes the victim to feel terrorized, frightened, or threatened. I read that shit fast as hell, and it still is just lengthy, doughy, and free of any substance. It's the definition exists in a vacuum. I continue reading. Hold on, man. Dude, like, I got this nagging feeling I'm in the fucking Twilight Zone. The state of Michigan is now explicitly allowing gender delusion issue to be used as a protected class. This opens up numerous issues when it comes to the courts and continued weaponization of the system against the conservatives, State Rep Angela Regas said of the bill. She continued, we saw similar concerns when they wanted to pass blocks on conversion therapy. Since Dems want to be in the business of telling people how to think. Of course they do. The bill was passed by the Democrat-controlled state House in a 59-50 vote. It now moves to the Michigan State Senate for consideration. If approved by the state Senate, it will be sent to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, fucking good Lord, who is expected to sign it. Of all the times to move back to a blue state, like, what the fuck, dude? Michigan lawmakers gave final approval to the legislation banning conversion therapy for minors as Democrats in the state continue to advance a pro-LGBTQ agenda in their first months in power, which I'm going to talk about later. So, the legislation will prohibit mental health professionals from trying to convert youth who are LGBTQ to heterosexuality and traditional gender expectations. So, I'm going to talk about that one later. Because I'm not sure what I'm seeing here in Michigan, but first of all, Gretchen Whitmer's an absolute fucking mess. She needs to go. Gretchen Whitmer fucked up COVID. She was locking people in their houses while this bitch was out on the boat with her fucking husband drinking Bud Light. No. Fuck Gretchen Whitmer. Fuck her up the ass. No. And this is coming from a true Michigander. Like, bitch, I've been here. This ain't no catch-up politics. She's a nuisance. But she's everything the Dems want. That's a model Democrat right there. Like, just pushing the agenda, doesn't believe a thing she fucking says. She's just as hollow as any other two-bit politician. Fuck Gretchen Whitmer, man. If there was a level of respect I had with her, it'd be comparable to fucking curb bacteria. Fuck, ugh. Anywho, they said she's expected to sign this bill. So, as I read in the beginning, this ain't no light sentence. This ain't no fucking game. You could get punished. You could go to prison for 5 years for misgendering in the state of Michigan. You could go to prison for 5 years. In what reality is that not completely asinine, absurd, nonsensical? In what universe? Seriously, bro. Like, I only been gone 2 years. And now it's at the point where criminal action, civil action can be taken against you for aligning with objective reality, for saying something that make other people feel the way that they don't know how to manage. But when they make you feel some way based as a result of their ignored feelings, based on negligence toward their feelings, now you can go to prison. Now they're changing the definition of the word intimidate to back you into a corner. So any behavior that you make that they say makes them feel threatened or intimidated or whatever makes them feel scared, is something you now have to deal with. And the problem with that is completely arbitrary, and there is no metric that's capable of measuring actual threat, actual intimidation. The only requisite is that your ass be able to communicate them feelings consistently and clearly. If you can communicate, feign being threatened, feign being intimidated, then you can imprison somebody for speech, for words, especially true words that don't align with their bent reality. And you could go to prison for it, amongst real criminals, murderers, not speech criminals. What the fuck? Speech criminals. Motherfucker, what'd you do? I uttered a sentence. I said a sentence that somebody didn't like. So they locked me up because it made somebody feel threatened. What you say? I said, you ain't no she, you a he, you a man. Fuck out of here, man. Michigan is tripping, man. Going out the world backwards, ass backwards. This is a terrible law. This is a terrible fucking law. And it's been in effect for a month. I just can't believe it. This is why I would definitely be back to Vegas soon. Like, maybe I move to Henderson, Summerlin, something like. I can't stay here. I can come here. I can chill here. I can feel comfortable here. I can get refreshed here. This is my home ground. This is my land. But I don't think I can stay here, man. I don't think I can stay anywhere where I can get in prison for saying what the fuck is true in a public fashion and somebody else being offended by the truth. These people don't value truth. They aren't worthy of my fucking conversation. End of story. All right, so I think it was Fox News. I seen it on. I don't have the article handy. I'm gonna be playing poker and smoking weed while I'm doing this segment of the podcast. This is a symptom of my degenerate gambling addiction, and if you don't like it, I understand. So, anyways, I'll just break down what happened. So, there was this truck driver in Ohio, and I guess this guy was getting flicked for speeding. Like, he was already starting off by speeding. So, the Ohio State Police, you know, they got their own division that deals with commercial vehicles, I assume. They tried to stop him. They got behind him, they flicked the lights and shit. He didn't stop. This motherfucker was gunning down the road. So naturally, when the police try and apprehend you and you resist such a movement, they call in for backup, you know, to increase their odds that they will apprehend you and to decrease the odds that you will escape. You know, I think that's just standard protocol for police when they want to catch somebody. So this guy was speeding away from the police for so long that they had to throw down spike strips to stop his fucking truck. So when he gets out the truck, they talk to him, whatever. There's several officers around him, you know, guns drawn or like hands on gun, if I'm not mistaken. And they have a canine unit that's there to respond to this. And you can see the guy handling the dog, like he's ready to let that motherfucker go. Like he's ready to let this dog go, but he's not just yet. Just moments before he lets go of the dog, you can hear an officer say, "Don't let the dog go while he's got his hands in the air. Don't let him go." Like they're all acting all shocked. The Ohio State Police, they're like, because the dog goes up and bites the shit out of this guy. He fucking bites him. And he was like, "I told you don't let him go when he's got his hands up." You know, which seems like sound advice to me. Don't release the dog on him if he got his hands up. But I think slightly cooperative, slightly before them getting him out of the truck and getting him in the street with his hands up, he wasn't like fully cooperative with him. Like it was some sort of it wasn't just a smooth transaction getting him there. Cause like they had him in like a standoff kind of situation and they had to fucking deploy spike strips just to stop this guy. So, you know, he's going to jail at the minimum. And then they get the officer who let the dog go on him or whatever. Like you can hear him tell the guy when he gets back, he's like, "I told you don't let the dog go on him with his hands there. I said it multiple times, blah, blah, blah," you know? And then they cut over to the guy that they're arresting. He's like, you shouldn't have let that dog on me, and blah, 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 this. And you let that dog on me, and you shouldn't have, but I wasn't doing this. I had my hands in the air. And it's like, the Ohio State Police, I think they said they're going to do their own investigation into it. But they haven't heard anything about any kind of punishment for this officer. There hasn't been any action taken toward the officer involved who let the dog go, which attacked this man. So, you know, this is just a feeling I get in situations like this. For the example I'm about to explain, I'm not saying this is what it is, but it leaves the same taste in my mouth. And it's these situations where it's a law enforcement official, a cop, state, county, sheriff, whatever the fuck, it's a cop, apprehending a criminal, which is what money comes out of our taxes to fund their ability to do, to protect and serve. This has nothing to do with dirty cops, you know? Like, as a member of society, these people are here to protect and serve you.
that is a form of authority which you voluntarily submit to these officers. So when you find yourself in a situation where law enforcement considers you hostile, apprehensive, uncooperative, all these fucking wannabe Harvard graduate law students being combative with the police, all these situations have that shit in common most often. Like somebody's fleeing the police, or somebody's on the ground and resisting being arrested, and it's some type of struggle or some type of disagreement which escalates to a cop pulling out his gun and shooting, injuring, maiming, killing somebody. Because they didn't want to get arrested. They have rights. And I agree, they do have rights. Police shouldn't be unnecessarily killing people. You know, the use of lethal force is not always necessary to protect, especially when individuals have their hands in the air. However, how can you resist arrest if you lend yourself to being arrested? Like, if the cops say you're under arrest and you put your hands behind your back, the next logical move is just to put the handcuffs on you and detain you. But if you resist that activity, the ability to predict your next move becomes diminished. So therefore, they're always going to say that their safety is in danger, which it oftentimes is. I get that. I understand that. I'm not saying it's okay to use lethal force because somebody refuses to get arrested. But what I'm saying is, like, you open that door when you just don't be patient and use the legal system. The legal system is not instant. You sitting there running off your rights like some type of fucking stenographer with Tourette syndrome is not, you know, you fucking hyper paralegal. That shit don't work instantly. If you've been wronged, if you feel like the police have misbehaved or they've broken their code, broken their oath, it's a way to go about that. Yeah, you might have to get arrested. Yeah, you might have to sit in a bullpen for a day. Don't you think that's better than being dead? And then going and rioting in the streets and doing all this shit that's not a revival ritual. Like, it doesn't bring the person back. Like, nothing you do is going to bring that person back. You can yell and scream and protest and burn and shout and fight and destroy and vandalize as much as you want. But it's not, it's too late. It's done. Nobody wants to talk about how things could have been avoided, how somebody could have handled the situation better with a teeny bit of cooperation. Sorry, I just went with 10s. Like, that shit's crazy. I don't believe that just happened. Anywho, yeah, like, people just just cooperate, man. The legal system takes time, period. It takes time. If you've been wronged, the things done in the dark can come to the light. I'm not saying it like it's any kind of guarantee, but like, the court of public opinion gets it right sometimes. And you never know what can happen in this world. Because it's definitely more of us, as in citizens, than it is them, the people in control, leaders, law enforcement officials, or whatever. But I think the goal here is to just, you know, live peacefully, you know, submit ourselves to the laws that govern us, you know, not just for your sake of trying to validate your rights on the spot, but like for the sake of keeping strength in the system. But yeah, I mean, even if you fucking like, if your internet goes on, you call customer service, like customer service, like it's just, you know, this shit happens. I'm torn. Like I yeah, he had his hands up, but it's like I don't even like to play that whole like, okay, is he unarmed? He surrendered and blah 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 and all this and that. Like, bro, did he just lend himself to getting arrested? Like, he should have just lended himself to getting arrested. He should have stopped when they first flicked him. Like, he created this situation. You can't blame the police for doing what they're there to do. Shit, if he'd have pulled over, he wouldn't have got no dog sicked on his ass. Pull over. Why not pull over? And no, it's not saying it's okay for them to sick dogs on people who don't pull over, but it's like, if you just pull over, like, and cooperate, you can't reasonably say that does not decrease the likelihood that you're gonna get mauled by a fucking dog. Your best policy is to just be honest and upfront. And to just not be doing anything that you like. Don't be riding with no suspended license. Don't be riding with drugs in the car and open containers and shit. Like, don't be slipping. What the fuck? Have your shit together. And you don't have to end up in interactions with police where you gotta be standing outside with your hands up in the sun with guns drawn on your dumb ass because you won't fucking pull over for the cops like a normal person. You're not a martyr. You're an idiot.
Michigan becomes 22nd state to ban the use of conversion therapy on LGBTQ minors. Kelly McClure, courtesy of Salon. I'm going to say, I'm outdoors, there's people cutting their grass, I'm going to be rolling a blunt, smoking a cigarette, and drinking coffee throughout. So watch me juggle all this shit with no skill at it whatsoever. Okay. Quote, I am grateful that we are taking action to make Michigan a more welcoming, inclusive place, says Governor Whitmer. Jesus. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed 2 bills into law on Wednesday banning the use of conversion therapy on LGBTQ minors, both of which are set to take effect in 90 days. The Advocate, House Bill 4617, defines the practice itself as something that seeks to change a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. White House Bill 4616 bars licensed therapists from subjecting minors to the practice and lays out penalties for violation, including discipline by public health regulators. Today, we are banning the horrific practice of conversion therapy in Michigan and ensuring this is a state where you can be who you are, Whitmer said in a statement. As a mom of a member of the community and a proud lifelong ally, I am grateful that we are taking action to make Michigan a more welcoming, inclusive place. Both of these bills were approved by the Michigan Senate last month in a 21-15 vote, winning over Republican naysayers who worried that the legislation could interfere with the work of mental health professionals, per AP News. Sarah Warbelow, Vice President of Legal at HRC, praised Whitmer for her work in protecting LGBTQ youth, saying, quote, so-called conversion therapy is a dangerous and discredited practice that will hopefully never see the light of day again here in Michigan. So, this is a pretty short article, thank God. First of all, we know from the last segment, or the segment before that, whatever, I don't really care for Gretchen Whitmer, okay? She says she's a mom of the member of the community, which I don't really know what that means enough to say I understand. Like, I get it. I'm not dumb. I know she means son, daughter, whatever is trans, non-binary, you know, lights all ain't on upstairs. I get it. But, like, how? What do you mean? Is that just not rhetoric? Like, I've not heard anything about that. Not to say that it's not true, but I've just not heard anything about that. So, it's like, what am I supposed to do with that shit? And then, says she's making Michigan more inclusive so more people can be who they want to be. Like, how is Michigan not inclusive already? Like, I think Michigan's probably one of the bluest states that you can be in. It's the one I'm from. I used to be blue. So it's like, I just don't understand why we need more inclusion. Like, I really agree with the narrative that I've heard that inclusion, diversity, equity, all that shit just means no white people. No whites. And I'm just like,
I just don't really care. I just want to be in a society of competent, responsible individuals. I don't give a damn if they're from Timbuktu. Like, just be responsible. I don't want to have to worry about shooting you to death because you broke in my house and tried to steal a cup holder. Like, and as far as this whole gender-affirming care conversion therapy, banning it on LGBTQ minors, it's a good move. It's a good move. I cannot dispute that. But the reason that I think it's bad is because just because you don't promote it for minors, which is a good thing, it is an objectively good thing to take this ability away from minors. Michigan's the 22nd state to do so, a little late to that party, but we're over 500. So minors absolutely shouldn't be able to do this. However, you saying that it's not okay for minors is kind of saying that it's okay for adults. And the practice itself, if it's horrific on minors and teenagers and children, why is it not horrific for adults? These doctors have some type of sick, invasive medical fetish for cutting off testicles, butchering, mutilating children, and people in general. It's a generally unsafe practice that validates the delusion of people who suffer from mental illness and results in them being mutilated for life. Whether they're on board with it or whether they're not on board with it, the practice itself should be abolished, period. It should be illegal to do in the country. It should be illegal to do in the world. These doctors should not be allowed to perform these on people. Believe it or not, these people do not need this for their well-being, for the healthy maturation of their mind and body, even if they think they do. If your child thought drinking bleach would make their body disinfect all the germs, the negative bacteria and germs in their body, and they believe this wholeheartedly, would you go along and affirm them on their bleach consumption journey? No, you wouldn't. You would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? If I ever see you touching this bleach, I'm gonna whoop your ass. It's at a point where, you know, when dealing with children, they adopt all kind of ludicrous realities. And they say, "Mommy, I'm a superhero," or "Mommy, you know this. Hey, Dad, look, I'm an astronaut." Woo woo, and you be like, "Yeah, you're a great astronaut." Ooh, oh my, what's that? The moon? Is that Jupiter? Oh yeah, I love my astronaut son. And it's like okay to a certain point because a child's mind is not crafted or capable to handle the harsh realities and just the roughness of life, like the coarseness, the balance between good and evil in a sense and what role they play within it. That is a very complicated concept for a child to grasp. A child's mind is egotistic. They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about, when am I going to get my next meal? I just shit my diaper. Where are you? Like, those are children's politics. And for these grown adults, in an attempt to carry out their sick fetish or plan to introduce evil to the world, want to mutilate and ruin the lives of these children, teenagers, minors, before they even get started. And it's despicable. It's universally despicable. And yet people are on board with this. Like, people are wanting their kids to go under the knife, to have their breasts cut off, to have their testicles altered, removed, all to affirm a delusion which in growing numbers is proving to not be effective at its goal. Like, I just don't think it's a cosmetic good. Like, it sounds good on a headline to hear that your state is the next state to ban conversion therapy on minors. But these minors will one day become adults. And I know it's probably with the idea in mind that if they wait till they're teenagers, they may grow past this dysphoria phase, even though dysphoria is no longer a requisite to say you identify as trans or that you're non-binary or anything aside from the biological reality which fell upon you at your birth. You know, but they will become adults, and with the aggressive nature of the LGBTQIAJZFDDYYPPQ2TTY campaign is that I just don't want, once you lose parental rights because you're no longer dealing with minors, or you're not dealing with a person whose brain isn't developed to some degree capable enough to where they can be responsible solely for the decisions that they make. It just sets a bad precedent, because like, they'll just wait. That doesn't solve the problem of the ideology and its prominence in society. That ideology still lingers. So once they reach the age where nothing or no one can stop them, who's to say they don't subject themselves to their punishment further along in their development, when the likelihood that they'll be able to visually align with the sex that they're trying to identify as is like almost impossible without thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of very risky, untested surgery, just so you could maybe look like a woman. And there's no guarantee you won't have complications. There's no guarantee that you won't get some kind of bacteria. There's no guarantee that this is going to solve the dilemma that you're experiencing in your mind. When you're taking a risk on your future, on the future of children, on their lives, like this does not, there is no gamble. I understand it's not 100%, but like we're not talking gambling in the sense that like, I don't know about the outcome. Like I understand that there's a risk that even with everything done right, this can fail. Everything's not being done right for these people. They're being taken advantage of on a national scale. They're having their delusions affirmed, which I would suggest helps nobody who's actually deluded. Like if you are actually suffering from a delusion and somebody comes along and pours sugar in your Kool-Aid, how the fuck is that helpful? At some point, it's going to become too sweet. It's not going to taste good. And you're going to walk around thinking how sweet your Kool-Aid is and how that's something that's marketable, but it's not palatable for anybody that you're marketing it to. And then you set yourself up for failure. I think this is a terrible law. I think this is a terrible bill. I think it shouldn't go into effect. Not in 90 days. Not in 180 days. Not in 365 days. Or at all. It's terrible. It's obviously terrible. And anybody who suggested it's not obviously terrible is themselves obviously terrible. Do you think the practice of conversion therapy should just be banned for minors, or should it be banned altogether? I'll leave a link to leave a voice message in the comments for this episode. And if you leave me a voice message, maybe one day I'll put it on the show and let the world know what you think. Thanks for listening to the Chico de Manuel Show. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys want to make a contribution of any sort, you can send it through Chime. That's $ Chico de Manuel. Or you can send it to me through Cash App, which is $ Pay Chico Now. I'll be coming out with more ways that you can help become a contributor to the show. Every contribution is appreciated 110%. And once more, thank you for listening to the Chico de Manuel Show. I really appreciate it. I hope you tune in for the next episode. With that being said, I'm out of here. Holla.